Gentlemen, good morning. मैं हूं आपका दोस्त मदन सिंह and I'm going to talk to you today about the Ukraine war and also mention something about the Gaza war. Now एक बात तो क्लियर हो गई है कि डोनाल्ड ट्रंप जो हैं ये शेर बनना चाहते हैं and he can roar like a tiger, like a lion, but he cannot bite like a lion. यानी वो शोर मचा सकते हैं पर वो काम नहीं कर सकते और डर जाते हैं. This is the fact of fact. And secondly, he is also, I think, 78 or 79, touching close to 80, and he has become senile. Senile in the sense that his age is catching up with him, and the net result is that America is suffering because of his whimsical approach. The first thing which he has done is to divide America. So I think what he can be labeled is the great divider-in-chief in America. There is a lot of support for Donald Trump in America, I will agree. But there are a lot of people in America who are opposed to him. And during my last visit there, I came to know that there are many people in various states like California who would like to break away from the American Union. They don't want to be part of America, mainly because he has negated the very principles on which America was formed. America was formed as a land of opportunity, El Dorado, but उसने वो खत्म कर दिया. He has gone into parochial things, basically based on racism. आप बहुत surprised होंगे कि I should say such things, but that is a fact. ये एक white supremacist leader है, and he has not recognized that the blacks and the Asians and the Hispanics have made a great contribution to America, and अब वो उनको वहां से निकालना चाहता है, saying that they are migrants. He must also remember that Vladimir Putin, who is the Russian president, is not his friend. He is a friend only of Russia. And his dichotomy has come out clearly in the Ukraine war. There what he is doing, he बोलते कुछ है करते कुछ है. I don't know what is his plan, but overall अगर उसका plan decipher करे, is that the EU should be dumped, the European powers should be finished, and Russia should take over Ukraine. Russia should break with China, and then Russia and the United States must get together and defeat China. That, I think, is his basic meme which he wants to follow. And it's not all that simple to do it. Because as I told you, Russia is in a strong alliance with China, and they are not going to give up their friendship with China for the sake of America, where they're going to get nothing. But Donald Trump, as I told you, has बहुत bitter आदमी हो गए हैं, and that bitterness is coming out in the Ukraine war. अभी उन्होंने एक अल्टीमेटम दिया है रशिया को that I will give you 50 days, and after that you must have a ceasefire, otherwise I will make life hell for you. I think ये बोलना आसान है, but it's not so simple. But why did he give an ultimatum of 50 days? 50 days is a long time. And अब रशिया ने क्या किया कि within those 50 days now, they have launched a very big offensive, और उस offensive में यह है कि बहुत से शहर और villages they are capturing every day. And Donald Trump को जब Western power ने कहा कि ये हो रहा है आप कुछ करिए, तो he said I will give them the Patriot missiles, the Patriot missile systems, because they need it. एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में उन्होंने ये कहा, बहुत अच्छी बात है. But the fact of the matter is that अभी तक those systems have not reached Ukraine because he added a rider, and that rider was that the European powers will pay for those systems. I will give the weaponry to the European powers, they will pay me the money, and then the European powers will give those Patriot missiles to Ukraine. I mean, this is a very devious way of doing it. And in a way, ये deal जो थी was bound to fail और fail हो गई at the moment because so many of the European powers have refused. They said हम नहीं ये बात करेंगे because they are also scared. And if they get involved in all this nonsense, they'll become the target of the Russians. The Russians are in a very, very rampant mood now. And जो मुझे लेटेस्ट खबर आई है कि उन्होंने अभी Tu-95 सुपरसोनिक बॉम्बर भी यूज किए हैं for the attack on Ukraine. They have used so many types of missiles which are very devastating and Ukraine को पता नहीं करना क्या है. Secondly, Ukraine is losing manpower every day. उनके पास आर्मी नहीं है लड़ने के लिए. But जो Zelensky है, he is not bothered about these things. All he is bothered about is his personal glory. And net result of all this is that Ukraine is suffering very badly. And it will not be long before the Russians can reach the Dnieper river and take the whole of eastern Ukraine. पर मेरे ख्याल में मैटर यहाँ एंड नहीं होने वाला because Vladimir Putin has decided that he will take over the entire Ukraine. अगर आप हिस्टोरिकल बात नेसेसरी देखिए, I think it is one of the historical facts that Ukraine is not required to be as an independent country. It is a non-entity. Historically, Ukraine हर बार is an occupied nation and it was part of the USSR. और इनको बहुत importance मिली when they were members of the USSR. Nikita Khrushchev जो थे, he was also from Ukraine. He was a coal miner and he became the first secretary of the Communist Party of Russia. So you cannot say कि यूक्रेन को इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं मिली. Of course, 32 या 33 में मेरे ख्याल में कुछ एक famine was induced by Stalin, but that was because Ukraine had opposed the collectivization of agriculture and Stalin wanted to teach the people a lesson. Now Stalin का मैं admirer नहीं हूँ, he was a strong man, but then to hold that particular incident against Russia is not correct. यूक्रेन को बहुत बेनिफिट्स मिले after it became a member of the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics. And even the Crimea, Khrushchev was the man who added the Crimea to Ukraine, made it a part of Ukraine. Crimea, historical, was never part of Ukraine. It was always a part of Russia. It's an old historical fact. And as you know, the famous Crimean War, the fought in Crimea, at that time, Crimea was part of Russia. And there's a famous poem by Lord Tennyson, the charge of the Light Brigade on the Crimean War. And I'll just mention this by passing. But the fact remains that Donald Trump has got a dichotomy, he's got two faces, and he has really not helped Ukraine much at all. And during his present tenure, the Russians have taken miles and miles of Ukrainian territory, and Mr. Zelensky is still in power. I think if the Ukrainian people or the deputies of the Ukrainian parliament had a little spine in them, they would have removed this man a long time back. Because he's leading Ukraine to destruction. And he's being supported by the Western powers, in particular the British and the French. Now, the British and the French, as you know, are no longer the global powers. They have no say anywhere in the world. And they feel that, well, we must assert ourselves, and they are asserting themselves by making Russia as an enemy. They're not really bothered about China. Now, China is a bigger enemy. But they're not bothered about China, they're bothered about Russia. And they were able to convince the Americans that Russia is an enemy, so you expand NATO so that we can ring Russia, break Russia, and another 3/4 states. It was a very selfish deal, thinking that they'll become the global powers after Russia is finished. But the British and the French have lost their empires, and that is the crucial thing. And they are big zero. बहुत अंडा है अभी, कुछ नहीं है उनमें. और now that Donald Trump ने हाथ पीछे कर लिया, these people don't know what to do. They have the G7 grouping of nations. अब वो G7 has got no value, no meaning. And आजकल जो real power आ रही हैं वो है ब्रिक्स में और SCO में, which are both creations of China, Russia, and to an extent India. Of course, SCO was not created by India. So, gentlemen, यूक्रेन वॉर जो है अब एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग पोजीशन में आ गई है, एंड मेरे ख्याल में रशियन विक्ट्री इज एश्योर्ड. अब पर एक बात याद रखिए कि डोनाल्ड ट्रंप जो है इज अ मैवरिक, मतलब आज भी एक कुछ कहेंगे बोलेंगे, कल कुछ बोलेंगे, एंड देन he will do something else. So, given the present mood of Donald Trump, I think Russia's victory in Ukraine is assured. It may take time, but it will be there. अब गाजा स्ट्रिप में भी जो हमारे प्रेसिडेंट हैं डोनाल्ड ट्रंप, he's got some very different notions. As I told you, he takes one step forward and two steps back. He carried out a bombing of the nuclear sites of Iran, which were there in the eastern mountains, and they used that formidable stealth bombers, the B-2. But after bombing for 2 days, it was all over. I mean, he stopped the bombing, and the regime, which was on its last legs, was allowed to survive. In that respect, he betrayed Netanyahu, because Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, knows that in case Iran survives, it is bound to have a nuclear weapon at some stage, and they are going to use it against Israel. This is something even a blind man can see, but not Donald Trump. He has not been able to see this, and he is going about putting sanctions on Iran which are irrelevant. Iran can only cease to exist by military defeat. And when the Americans had carried out the recent bombing of the nuclear storage sites, that was the time to press forward, and Donald Trump went back. On Palestine, he's been talking 2 things, 3 things here. He's been asking the Israelis to have a ceasefire with Gaza, Hamas, and he was the same man who was telling the Hamas at some stage कि अगर आपने hostages नहीं छोड़े तो there will be hell to pay. And Hamas didn't release the hostages. So, gentlemen, both the places, actually Ukraine and Gaza, अगर the West हारेगा, Americans हारेंगे, it is because of Donald Trump. Ukraine में तो he has decided that I want to hand over everything to the Russians. Fair enough. And in Gaza, he is not clear how much he should support Israel. But now there is a resurgence. I think the petrodollar has been thrown in the Indian Ocean by the Saudi Arabians. This was something which was there for 80 years, and now it's become history. And the person again who is responsible is Donald Trump. He was a man who went around doing this thing, that thing, and made his first visit also during the second tenure as presidency to Saudi Arabia, Qatar and UAE, thinking he would get billions of dollars. He did get them, but the results are not there. So, gentlemen, I think I will close now. You all must understand that the world is facing a very dangerous position. Donald Trump, I do not know whether he's good or for bad, but he will not be able to stop the tide of history and the demise of the Americans. I don't mean that America is going to die or go away, but definitely America will not be the power it is and will not be able to control the world. Donald Trump perhaps has realized it, and let's see whether he can succeed. And something may come up historically, because President Xi has invited both the Russian President Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump to Beijing to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. So that will be a very interesting meeting, if at all these three leaders meet, and we'll have to watch and see. Unfortunately, India has become the outsider, and we have to blame nobody but then Pandit Nehru himself, who didn't reduce India to this stage that doesn't figure on the global stage. Even Modi can't do anything to change that now. Well, gentlemen, I think I will close now, say goodbye, and God bless. And in case you have liked my video, please do share it with your friends. Subscribe to my channel. Look forward to it. And what more to say except take care of yourself and Jai Hind.